What if you could boat for the whole summer without having to worry about filling up the fuel tank? Boating does not have to be expensive if you do it differently. And that's when displacement cruising comes into its own, ladies and gents. That's when you can live aboard a vessel, go cruising, using it as a day boat, using it as a weekender, or just absolutely taking off on an adventure at displacement speeds and having stuck to, or if you focus on a design that keeps the maintenance and running costs within reason or quite low compared to some of the boats I have on this channel, that's when you can open up a whole new sphere, a whole new lifestyle. So that's the intention of us today. That's what we're going to show you today, because this is a boat, in my opinion, that is perfect for self-funded retirees, but I'm imagining a whole new generation of you are going to discover this style of boat. The Storm Bay 45, ladies and gents. And welcome to Queensland. Sunny Queensland. It's the end of summer now, but it's still very, very beautiful. So yes, as I have hinted to, she's a displacement single shaft diesel. She can go a little bit faster, which we discovered in our test drive video, which we'll be linking to at the end of this demonstration. But she's absolutely perfect as a liveaboard or a serious cruising boat. This is going to be the detailed tour, and the next one will be the test drive. My name's Dan Jones. You're watching Dan's Boat Life. So up on the front here, we actually have a usable bow area. There is a cushion, we just don't have it, which will go in this little love seat area if you wish. You do have some storage on either side, mainly perfect for lines and smaller items, because on a boat like this, you're probably actually just going to flick the fenders inboard, because we have essentially high gunnels, and the bulwarks there will actually, they will hide any fenders. So once you've just flicked them in, you're not going to notice. I'll just point out these cleats up on the bow here, heaps of space. So if you're grabbing a line, you can actually release it and then grab it from this side and chuck it onto the dock. So that's kind of useful from an operational perspective. The anchor windlass, super no nonsense, lots of stainless chain, stainless anchor. You can operate it from the bow. It's got a slight dam function to it here, and we have the raw and the freshwater wash on the starboard side and access into the chain locker on both sides. We can operate that from the helm as well if we wish. And then you can also just lounge around up on this part of the boat. We do have two hatches for ventilation. They are also escape hatches. We'll check those when we get down below. But pay attention to the roof. Obviously, it's designed to be walked on and accessed, and it's basically a full-on dance floor up here. But the functional space, or the functional use for this area, is to be storing extra bits and pieces. So you've got a lot of real estate. You could do solar if that's your desire. We do have a generator on board. The inherent stability on this, the form stability, is quite good. This is not a boat that's going to rock around a lot. So here I am up on the roof. It's a windy day. We've got 15 odd knots of wind, and I'm not sort of nervous about losing my grip and falling off. So it's just a little point. Now I want you to sort of notice as we walk around the boat, because you'll see that coming into its own. Electric openings, sunroof just here, that's just above the helm. Two more roof hatches just here. We can do all of our communications, navigation, radar if you option it, etc. up on the roof there. And I think the safe way to come down would always be like this, so you can have a handhold like so. Double stainless steel windscreen wipers with freshwater wash. And this design, it's a bit more modern, the Storm Bay, as opposed to what you might see a lot of boats in this category following the traditional style. So when you see the interior and the exterior, these windows are quite large, gives us a really nice picture from inside at the helm, which we're going to see in a second. So midship cleats accessible just here, just two small stairs, got courtesy lights, and then we have the side opening helm door I would say arguably this is a must-have if you're going to do single shaft diesel, a little bit of a keel, moderate speeds. We're cruising around at 7 knots, so you do want the ability to access the foredeck with ease. This is just for hanging a fender, probably not for securing the boat. I use the big cleats for that. We've got our diesel in, 2 tanks, 2,000 litres of fuel, and very low fuel consumption. So if you're in your normal speed ranges, as we saw today, you're going to be burning somewhere between the 10 and 20 litres per hour. So it gives you a really good nautical mile consumption rate at that speed. If you go faster, which you can, you're going to burn a lot more. So you can go all the way up to 90 odd litres if you go full speed, but we'll touch on that in more detail in the next video. But for your average cruising speeds, moving around somewhere in that 6 to 8 knot range, expect 10 to 20 litres fuel consumption. Sorry to my American friends, I still haven't done the calculation into gallons, so feel free to jump in the comments and correct me in gallons, because I don't remember. So fixed swim platform, quite large, quite deep, so you could have a little bit of optionality with this space. I would consider these builders, Storm Bay, to be a semi-custom company. So if you say to them you want to do something, potentially they would be able to say to you, give us the drawings and we'll make it happen for you. So if you wanted to do a little love seat at the back here, that might be a possibility. Shore power in just here, and I would say, I didn't open this before, yeah, that is the hot and cold swim shower just there. Let me just have a look. Okay, it's on the starboard side, telescopic deployable stainless steel swim ladder on the starboard side, and then lots of stainless here, thick cleats for your stern lines. We've got the kid and doggy door just here. This hatch, we're going to get into a little bit later in the video. So much space. The lazarette is massive underneath us. This whole area is storage, and we also have more space available to us in the engine bay. But this is what it's all about. Actually, you guys have a look forward from where you are and just get a load of what your life is going to be like on anchor, because it's very pleasant. And where we are right now, we've got clears on either side. So we've got equal walk around on port and starboard, and we can drop these clears and stop any cold wind from blowing through. We're always in the shade. We do have side clears and mozzie mesh, which we can roll down. We rolled them up for the shoot. So this whole space can be enclosed from a weather perspective. So you literally can treat this like a little bit of a home, because you got your door just there. You can come in on the tender. Everything can be wrapped up, whether it's for weather or for privacy. And you can open it up when you see fit, but then you can do dining here. You could absolutely get 2, maybe 3 directors' chairs on the other side and get a bunch of people around here. I would argue that this is going to be a very nice place to hang out, read a book, fall asleep in the sun. And I think having the overhanging roof here just means you've always got the option of sun protection, and you're going to be out of most rain conditions. Got some speakers, we've got down lights overhead, and we've even, if you wanted to do a little custom install, you could probably still put some fishing rods or some surfboards just in a rack up here, because I'm 5'7", and quite a bit of headroom just here. So depending on how tall you are, just be careful of your fins. That would be possible, and I definitely think fishing rods are the go as well. We've got access to some fresh water just there, and if we go forward up the port side, we've got midships gate. So this is useful at your dock, because then boarding, you actually have a natural step, which is the rub rail just here. So if you guys just have a quick look over there, that functions perfectly as a little natural step, and then you've got a grab hold on either side for boarding the boat. And then you do have this overhang here, so when you're coming forward to this space in the rain, you are actually still in the shade, so plenty of headroom. And look, enough shoulder room from some people, but I'd be going this way, okay? So then when we enter the saloon, we have 2 fold-up windows. So let me just unlock one to show you. Okay, they've got this lock here. Okay, and I've got to do that one. So that's how we do it. This one first, because that folds down like so, and then this will come across like this way. So you can, so for example, if you've got a dog or like some little small thing that you want to keep enclosed and you just want to have some airflow through, you might just close that door. Or kids, grandkids, for example, then you can drop this one down. So that's how that works. Let me just fold it back up for you guys to see. And then that locks in place like so. So once you're in the saloon, you've got this L shape facing that L shape. So it's quite social. So you can kind of pick where you want to hang out, but you're always going to have, if you choose, airflow from there, airflow from there, or airflow from there. Or you could stick on the generator and just run the air conditioning or heating, depending on where you are in the world. We do have some storage underneath both of these. I saw some chilling or refrigeration underneath one of them. And then the galley is awesome. So it's massive, and this is super entertainment vibes, but also living vibes. So we've got possibility for big bin in here, and that's got its own little spot like so. That's also a deep storage area, 2 charging points. You could do a lot with this. Obviously, I think you could potentially put a TV there, but I'd say you just focus on the pop-up one there. So maybe you do some artwork there if you wish. You've got your 4-burner cooktop just here. That's electric. Got your microwave, storage. This is storage, but we have optional ice maker in here, should you choose. Drawer, deep storage here, more storage, but you could do a dishwasher in here if that was important to you. And currently it is pantry, like so. You can see our Red Rock Deli chips in there. And more storage, again with this, that will store behind the sink. So that's a deep stainless steel. Both of these are fridge or freezer. So you choose how you wish to use them. And then 3 more drawers, and they're all soft close like so. But with the power points here and there, you could also perhaps set this up as your coffee station if you wish, and you're still going to have plenty of space for platters or whatever you need. There's sort of no shortage of space available to us here. And all of this overhead storage, 1, 2, 3, 4 above. So you can kind of set it up as you wish with all your plates and your glassware and so forth. And then we've got the down lights, AC vents. We've got these 2 opening hatches on the roof just there. So they open forward for some airflow, and more AC just here. And then more storage here and here underneath the Helm. That's quite deep actually. So very much liveaboard vibes. Same thing underneath the primary Helm. Very, very deep. It actually goes down in here, so you can store lots of things under here, from safety grab bags and whatever you need. So driving this boat, it's a relaxing experience. If you are coming from a sailboat, you're going to be most familiar with this experience because objects don't close on you at any great speed. You're traveling at 7, 8 knots. So it's a relaxing drive. She tracks quite well. She does have a little bit of a keel underneath the waterline, so she tracks pretty straight. And at those cruising speeds, noise levels are perfectly fine. So you can hold conversation with people in here. When you wind the speed up a little bit, the noise will come up, but I don't think that's the intention of this boat. I really do think it's, the primary focus is displacement. So I can understand the concept behind that. And you'll see this wheel. This is the sort of wheel that you would see on a lot of sailing boats. So it is going to lend itself to anyone coming out of sailing. You're going to immediately sort of resonate with this design. But also if you're coming out of or getting into power boating, this is, it's not a boat that stresses you out. It's not a design that stresses you out. It allows you time to think and to get the operation of the boat done without getting ahead of you. Some boats will get ahead of you because there's so much for you to think about. So if your mission is to just have fun and go boating and communicate with your mates or your family, you might see some value in bringing the workload down on a design like this. And also it's just cheaper. So think about that. That's up to you. I'm not selling these. I'm just letting you know. We've got 2 panels up here. So this one, ability for 2 panels. We have one, as you can obviously see, but we have ability to have 2 multifunctional touchscreen displays. We're running the Garmin on this one. We've got the engine diagnostics. We can do, basically you can take all the feeds that you want, from cameras to radars to chart plotter to autopilot. We have a rudder angle indicator on this one, which is useful for a boat of this design. It's nice to know what direction the rudder is pointed in before you leave the dock, for example. You don't want to get that wrong. However, if you do, you could just have your bow and stern thrusters activated and you can get yourself out of trouble, because we can manipulate both bow and stern on this one. Single engine, so single throttle. Really, you don't need to get all technical with this digital throttle, because we're not doing the high speeds. It literally is just in gear, neutral, out of gear. That's all you really need to think about. This is your quick anchor windlass, so that's just operating the anchor from the helm. However, we can do it from the bow with the buttons that we saw on the deck. Fuel, water, fuel. So we've got 2 tanks and a 700 litre water tank. I would argue, and we'll see later in the video, that if you wanted more fuel, it would be possible on this boat, because there's quite a lot of space for us to play with. This is our autopilot. I would definitely order one of these with an autopilot, because that's what it's all about. Set the boat on course, activate the autopilot, relax and have a good time. Window wash, starboard and port wipers, useful. Not a super wet ride, because there is actually a very noticeable deflector on the bow, which sends most, if not all, of the wash. We really struggled to get any waves or any wash up on the decks today, because they're deflecting pretty much all of it. This is sunroof operation. That's what I pointed out before. Horn, navigation, anchor, lights and bilge control. This is your Kohler genset, so we can run things like air conditioning, inverter chargers, etc., etc. We do have some charging points here, and then we've got the VHF just there. That is our stereo control, and the speakers are mostly up on the roof. But starting your day, it actually begins, quickly pass me the camera, Pete, and I'll show you guys, and I'll pass the camera back. So you would start the day below the stairs. Can you see that? Yes, you can. Pretty simple. Engine start, house battery, genset start, stern thruster, bow thruster batteries. You've got parallels as well, and you've got your windlass breaker on the right-hand side. So you just flick them on, old school style, and then you would come to the panel just here next to the helm and just turn on whatever you're using for the day. It's all in English. This is just exactly what you would see on any traditional boat or sailboat. No nonsense. We're not getting too techie here, and it's cheaper, to be honest. So 12 volt, 240, flick it on, ship to shore. So if you're going from shore power to ship's power, you just got to do that, and then you're ready to rock and roll. So you're just telling the boat where you are accepting the power from. Better close this, I should have done that before. But come forward and check out the accommodation. So it's 2 cabins, 2 heads. So this is probably the nicest cabin, because we have the hull windows just here, and these are the overhead opening hatches that I pointed out before, but we do have air conditioning in here. But I'm gonna lie on the bed. It's a foam mattress, and as you can see, it's island style, so you can get out on either side of the bed. It's actually super comfy. It's really nice, and it's good having a little bit of natural light through there, more through the overhead hatches. We've got storage underneath both sides, here and here, and then as I left open, you can access bow thruster. You can see air conditioning. You do have a couple of drawers here, which is going to be useful for some bedding or extra items. And then we've got hanging locker on the port side, or shelves I should say, just there, timber lined. And underneath here was deep storage, and I can get into the bilge underneath my feet as well, and same again midships, getting into sump tanks and tankage. But in terms of the head, your day head and head for this cabin would be through here on the port side. So that's got separate shower, and let me just show you the port, because there is an opening port, but there's also an extractor fan. So inside this shower cubicle, we actually have an opening port. You'll see them externally, and then we have the extractor fan there, the big rain head shower just here, and it's a proper shower cubicle. And this is all a good wet area with towel hanging and some storage around the vanity and underneath the sink. And then we've got this cabin, which may be the master. I don't know, you tell me. I've seen some drawings where you can also do this bed as more of an island, so you have walking or access on both sides. But this particular one is optioned with the bed off to starboard, but we do have a private head, but not a separate shower built in here. So it's the built-in shower on this one. And yeah, this foam's comfy actually. It's quite nice. I feel like I could have a nap. But as you can see, it's a wet head just here. So that's the a little bit smaller. We've got the extractor fan, and then if we close this up, you can get a feel for the styling. So we are doing a much more of a modern styling in this boat compared to what perhaps some of you would be used to on boats in this category. We've just got a little bit of storage beside the bed and underneath the stairs just there. And I'm not sure if this one lifts up. I don't want to force that. I don't know. I'll cut to it in the B-roll if it does. I don't like forcing things if I haven't tested it myself. All right, so insulation. This is the primary access in and out of the engine bay. This panel you see here would be for long-term engine removal and major servicing, is my assumption, because we've got the table here and you'd have to get in underneath that seat. So come with me and let's have a look. So it's the D6 480, 480 horsepower, and it's a straight shaft, okay? Straight shaft, little bit of a keel, and then we're looking behind this perforated, I forget what you call that, but it's 1,000 litres of diesel on either side. Okay, so you've got your sight gauge accessible. It might be easier to show you the port one. That's the water tank now, forward just there, and you can see the Victron Energy, that'll be the battery charger, and then you've got a sight gauge on port. Lots of potentially usable space forward of the port fuel tank. So just think about that for any of you needing to do something. You've got your raw water intakes for various air conditionings there. We've got some batteries just tucked in, less space forward of the starboard tank because we've obviously got the water tank taking up that volume just there. It's a crouch space, it's not stand up, because you, for this design or style of sedan, you can't do that. But there's your fuel filters, just there. Making my way back. Genset is on the center line. It's a Kohler on this one. Center line aft of the motor, just there. And we have a little bit more space behind both fuel tanks. If you were going to option this one with a gyro, and you could, you'd do that in the lazarette. Okay, so we've cleared this lazarette out for you guys to see, but pass me the camera and I'm going to show you, because this is quite a useful space. It's massive. So you could load this up with storage boxes. As you can see, you've got the hot water system all the way over there on the port side. We've got some batteries for the stern thrust, so you can see the steering gear. This is cool. This is actually emergency tiller. It's what you would expect on a sailboat. So that's great. I like having redundancy there. You can see the stern thruster tucked away down there. So that's going to be a stern tunnel thruster. We've also got some batteries, a battery bank just here starboard aft. And you might be able to see just below me, if I give the camera back to Pete, that's actually the engine exhaust just here. But this is just usable space. There's just heaps of available space. I would just arrange this in a fashion so I've got everything in bins, so I can slide them around this floor and then do it in such a way that you can still get in and access the items that you need. And I would argue that if the 2,000 litres of diesel and 1,500 plus nautical miles with a reserve wasn't enough for you, I'd be optioning a third fuel tank, if that was the direction you wanted to go in here. I don't see why you couldn't do that. It seems logical. Just check your weight and balance. But I'd say you've got the options on a designer boat like this. These builders, having met the owner of the company now and spent a day with him down in Hobart, Tasmania. Beautiful place. Go there if you haven't been. They are very forward thinking. They're from a sailing background and they've lived their whole life in Storm Bay in Tasmania, hence the name. So they're used to crazy conditions because that's what you get down there. And so they're just very much thinking with an open mind. And so, you know, having chatted with Brett just last week, if you were to come to him with an idea and they can draw it and it's feasible, you can do it. He'll give you a price, he'll make it happen. So, who's going to see the most value out of owning something like this? I absolutely think people who are in that self-funded retiree mode of life, people who have a life-changing experience ahead of them. Let's go in the sun, then you can enjoy the background. So if you are now benefiting from more free time, and if you are planning adventures, or if you desire to do some adventures that you never had time for in your previous stage of life, and you want something that can just serve as your floating home, this is a boat that will do that for you. On the other hand, if you're looking for a boat that has more predictable ownership costs, what do I mean by that? Fill the tanks full of diesel at the beginning of the season and don't fill them again till next year. Anti-foul, straight shaft drive, a yearly polish, a lot of stuff that you could do yourself. It's not overly technical, so it's not a boat that's going to really drain your wallet. Yes, it will not give you 30 knots of cruising speed or 27 knots of cruising speed, which some boats will do, but the multiples of running costs and fuel burn when you get up into those boats, it's a whole nother experience. So the question you need to ask yourself, and now I'm thinking about that potential other new demographic, those of you who are now looking at the status of the world and going, yeah, do I want to travel? Is boating a thing we could do? If that's you, this is absolutely a great lifestyle. This is absolutely a great thing to do, because for the price of, let's face it, 2 return economy airfare tickets will fill up this tank of diesel, even at today's prices, 2 return tickets to Europe. That's going to get you a whole year of fun. It's not just a holiday. So once you start to think about it like that, this becomes your floating waterfront weekender. This can still serve as a wonderful day boat if you are still a busy working person. So yes, your area of operations is not going to be as wide as it would be with a fast boat because you can't travel as fast. But we got Starlink, guys. Maybe you don't have to go to work on Monday. Maybe you can just stay on the boat for 3 days and have these awesome adventures. So just really deeply think about what your life looks like today and what it's going to look like in the future, because I see a boat design like this making sense for a lot more people than what it did just not so long ago. So how does it perform? What's your life going to be like operating, and what should you compare it to in terms of competition if you're in the market? We're going to talk about that in the next video. It is a beautiful day, semi-challenging conditions, just a little bit of wind. I wouldn't call it all that challenging, to be honest, but a fair test, and that's what we're doing. Up next, coming to you from Queensland. Love you lots. See you in the next one. Thanks, guys.